Hello and a very warm welcome from the Oxfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership and OxLEP Business. I'm Howard Bentham and thank you for being part of POP2020, the Power of Purpose Week, as we celebrate business as a force for good. Our aim over the next 90 minutes or so is to find out how OxLEP Business can help your purposeful business grow. Within OxLEP Business support is eScalate, a programme part funded by the European Regional Development Fund, which offers to Oxfordshire's small and medium-sized enterprises that are scale-ups or have scale-up potential and socially minded enterprises. And it's these socially minded enterprises that we'll focus on today. eScalate officially launched in November 2019. Since then, more than 150 organisations have been supported and £236,000 of grant funding awarded. The eScalate programme offers support via one-to-one coaching and mentoring, grant funding, and a network of 6 enterprise hubs, which run webinars and peer-to-peer learning sessions. The goal is to create a strong and vibrant community of socially minded enterprises, helping individuals, charities, and businesses to learn new skills, forge valuable partnerships, and increase their positive social and environmental impact. We're going to meet key members of the eScalate team and hear from businesses and organisations who've benefited directly from the help in its various forms available from eScalate within the OxLEP Business Support Framework. And we really want to get today's sessions as interactive as possible. If you're watching this live, as you can see on the screen, there is a chat facility on this platform. The OxLEP Business team will attempt to answer your questions immediately in the chat space. For answers that require more follow-up, a member of the team will be in touch at the close of the event. And if you're watching this as a recording, please get in touch via the website at oxlepbusiness.co.uk. So let me introduce our first 2 contributors. Please welcome Helen Brind, who is the Growth Hub Manager at OxLEP Business. Helen has an impressive background in managing growth in the banking and educational sectors. And Sarah Beale. Sarah is the eScalate Programme Executive and has been with OxLEP for 4 years as Project Manager and Economic Development Coordinator. Previously, she worked at Oxfordshire County Council. Welcome to you both. Helen, if we can start with you as manager of the Growth Hub, it's probably worth starting with a general overview of what the Growth Hub offers and where eScalate fits into the range of business support available.
Absolutely. Thanks, Howard, and good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. So some of you may know the Oxfordshire Growth Hub, some may not. So what are we? Our official title, if you are looking for us when you're looking on the internet, would be OxLEP Business. So we're one of 38 growth hubs around the country. And what we do is we support local organisations, local businesses in terms of any needs they may have in order to develop their business. And we do that through a series of different activities, one of which is eScalate, which we'll talk about in more detail shortly. But very much we're about offering support, we're about signposting to the services across the county. The support we offer, we do that through a series of one-to-one support, webinars and grant schemes. But to give a little bit more detail to that, we have 2 European programmes which we offer, which is eScalate is one of those programmes. And we support organisations through webinars, one-to-one support and grant schemes, both programmes running through to 2023. But this year's been a really important year, as we know, in terms of the COVID pandemic. And we've been able to offer a significant increase in the support to Oxfordshire businesses. And we've done that through launching a business triage support tool, where we're really drilling down and finding out what support businesses need and developing personal support plans off the back of that. Those personal support plans very much will signpost people to the support that's offered, and that includes the eScalate programme to make sure that we're giving that kind of rounded support and demonstrating how joined up we are in the process. We've just launched last week an Oxfordshire Startup Club, which 35 people have joined, so just showing the need to help people develop their organisations. A series of webinars which over 500 people have attended since July, one-to-one support, an additional peer networks programme. We've also got a more formalised peer network programme, which you'll have seen probably on LinkedIn, which is part of a national offer. And it's very much about making sure that we're offering those organisations the right level of support. So it's a very rounded approach and a very joined up approach. But as I say, that's very much a new offer as a result of this year and the result of the pandemic, I guess.
Lots going on and lots of input. Sarah, give us a broad picture of what the eScalate programme can offer purposeful organisations.
Thanks, Howard, and good morning, everybody. So as you've mentioned already, eScalate is a European funded programme, and there's kind of two sides to it. There's a side which is for scale-ups and businesses looking to access finance and become investment ready, and also the side which we're talking about specifically this morning, which is about opportunities for support for businesses which are purposeful. So we've calling them enterprises for social good because we're attempting to kind of cover off all of the range of businesses and organisations that can access this support. So by that we mean charities, social enterprises, and also purposeful businesses. So those businesses which are have their environmental or social mission at the centre of what they do. And broadly, the support we're offering through the programme is one-to-one support, a series of webinars covering a wide variety of topics, and also peer-to-peer support, which we're all going to find out a bit more about later. There's also a programme of grant funding, which we can touch upon later as well.
Helen, as I mentioned in the introduction, this webinar is part of a week's worth of events arranged by OSEP CIC. How do OSEP and OxLEP Business work together?
So the way we're working together is we've been working with OSEP since the actually pre the launch in November last year. So we started working with OSEP last July, and OSEP is very much they're there to deliver the support to the purposeful businesses, as Sarah's already said, through the eScalate programme. So we've worked with them really closely to deliver tailored support which fits in with the wider offer. And I'll give you an example of that. So because as a result of the pandemic, we've had to flex, as every organisation has. So the OSEP team have been amazing at the work. They continued with the workshops, went to webinars, and they did that really quickly to support local businesses. And it wasn't just about the eScalate clients. We made sure that they made sure that they could offer that wider offer. So that's been really important in terms of the working relationship, because we needed to create those opportunities just for people to talk. And I guess it's also worth mentioning that one of the people on the call today is Ashley Cavers, who is the project manager for OSEP, but she has also worked with us for a long time. So she used to be one of our network navigators through the Growth Hub, delivering support through one-to-one support, etc. And more recently, she's actually part of our enhanced Growth Hub offer. So she's continued with the journey. And I think that's really important to talk about that OSEP and OxLEP are working together in that joined up approach.
Sarah, give us a flavour of some of the purposeful businesses that have been supported by eScalate. I know we're going to meet some of them later, but worth just sort of setting the stall out now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, we've supported over 150 organisations so far since we officially launched in November last year. And there's been a wide range of organisations involved to date. You know, we're going to talk to some of them later and hear a bit more about them. We've also got a video which OSEP and us have worked on, which we'll be able to share with people after the event, which showcases some more of the businesses and organisations that have been involved with us. And you know, we've got businesses that have come to us when they're at the start of their journey, relatively new, and looking for ways in which they can become more purposeful, how to get help with things like B Corp registration, which we can talk about later when we talk to C Corp. But also much more established and well-known social enterprises in the county, for example, like Tap Social. Most people are probably aware of them, based in Botley, brewing beer and a tap room, but also with a really core social mission of supporting people out of the criminal justice system. And I think it says a lot that they're also one of our enterprise hubs, that they're also accessing support through the programme, and we'll see that later on as we go through this, that we've got people who are delivering the support who are also social enterprises and purposeful businesses themselves, which I think really really helps with being able to give that message and understanding what organisations are working through at the moment.
Oxfordshire, Sarah, is also a social enterprise place as recognised by Social Enterprises UK, and they're the national body for social enterprise business with a social or environmental mission. How can this benefit businesses and organisations?
Yeah, so the social enterprise place essentially is a recognition of a place where social enterprise is thriving. And this is something that OSEP worked on with a group of stakeholders to get recognition for Oxfordshire. I think it's really important, you know, anything that brings the national recognition to the county, it is great, you know, it can help to raise awareness, help to bring investment, and hopefully through things like the eScalate programme and also through these series of events we've got this week, it can help to build those networks and just a chance for people to get to know each other, to strengthen opportunities for collaboration and learning, which I think is really important for all sectors.
And Helen, just before we complete this section, building and maintaining a collaborative business community, it really is key here, isn't it, in what you're doing?
Absolutely, Howard. As we've mentioned at previous events, I think the key to what we do is about collaboration, it's about relationships, about partnerships. And I think that now more than ever, that's important. However, I think working with OSEP and working with the organisations they work, so for example, Tap Social is a really good example of that, making sure that we work together and that actually community is vital. You know, we've seen that through the pandemic. You know, there's been some really humbling moments for us as an organisation because we are to some degree at arm's length, and people like OSEP and the organisations they're working with, it draws that in, and it's just absolutely vital in terms of how we can work moving forward.
Brilliant. Well, Helen, thank you very much for now. Sarah, you're going to stay with us for the next part of this session. And joining Sarah is Ashley Cavers, who we've mentioned in dispatches already, and Grant Hayward from OSEP, along with Henry Owen from CAG, Community Action Groups, Oxfordshire. Remember, if there's a question you want to ask them, please use the chat facility and a member of the OxLEP business team will respond immediately. If you're watching the recording, then please get in touch through the website oxlepbusiness.co.uk. During this section of the presentation, we're going to meet the team as well as look at some of the specific help that is on offer from eScalate and how it's tailored to your company or organisation's specific needs. Sarah, before we hear from Ashley, Grant and Henry, just tee up the various component parts of the support that eScalate offer to eligible businesses. There is financial help, but it goes well beyond the money, simply, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we've talked about, we've got quite a wide programme of events, which hopefully has got something for kind of everyone in the support that they might be looking for. So there's the one-to-one support, which Grant will talk about. We've got the support which comes through the 6 social enterprise hubs, which consists of the webinars, which would have been workshops. And obviously when we designed the programme, we were pre-COVID and hoping that those would be places where people could kind of drop in and access support. So we're trying to replicate that as much as possible in an online way. And we've also got the peer-to-peer groups which are being run out of the hubs, and Henry will talk a little bit about those. And as you say, we've also got financial support available, which is available as grant funding. It's matched, so it's a 50-50 rate. So if you had a £2,000 project, it could be £1,000 from you and £1,000 from the programme. There's quite a lot of eligibility and things like that to go through, which isn't best done here. But if people are interested in the grants, then just get in touch with the team and we can take you through those and answer any questions.
Great stuff. Ashley, welcome. Tell us about your role within OSEP.
Thanks, Howard, and good morning, everybody. So I work as the programme manager for eScalate. So I work very closely alongside Grant and our 6 enterprise hubs, and of course the OxLEP team to help deliver the programme and support as many businesses, charities and organisations across the county as we can. It's been an interesting year to launch a new programme. We were literally supposed to launch our programme of workshops the first week of lockdown, as Sarah mentioned. So we very quickly had to switch all of our workshops into webinars online. But thank goodness we were able to do that, I think, because as we know, it's been a really tough few months for businesses and charities and social enterprises, not just in Oxfordshire but everywhere, clearly. So they need all the support they can get at the moment, and I think we've been able to do that by creating a really strong community in a time of need. And actually the world needs social enterprises and charities and purposeful businesses more than ever before. So rather than the wrong time to launch a new programme, which is the view we could have taken in those early weeks and months of lockdown, actually I think it's been the perfect time to have a programme like this.
And interestingly, I understand your own business, the Wonky Food Company, has received support through the programme in the past. Worth just sharing the story of Wonky Food and indeed the support that you've received.
Sure. Well, I won't share the full story of Wonky Food Company, but in a nutshell, we're a business that makes products out of imperfect and surplus fruit and veg. So we work closely with farmers to intercept and make use of the product that they can't sell into supermarkets, which would otherwise go to landfill. So we're still in quite early stages of that. We've been doing it for the last 2 years, but I still think of myself as a startup and still learning and need support and need help in my journey through that business. And yes, so I've attended a lot of the webinars, not just as program manager, but with my wonky hat on, and learned a lot. For example, attended a webinar that was held by the Oxford Hub, one of our other enterprise hubs, all about impact measurement, which is an incredibly important subject for anybody working in the social enterprise and purposeful business space. So yeah, that was great, and I suppose it's useful as well for my role as program manager, that as a business as well, working on the ground, facing a lot of the challenges that any purposeful business faces, that then helps inform some of the topics and issues and subjects that we can talk about as part of the programme.
Great stuff. Grant, your specialism is running the business one-to-one sessions. Help us understand how the conversation would go should a company come to you who've got the aim of wanting to be more purposeful or improve their social impact.
Yeah, hi Howard, and hello everyone else. Great to be part of this. I suppose the first thing to say really from a practical point of view is there is an application form to complete, which isn't onerous, and we can help you with that. So registering on the programme is important. We also have in place a sort of an online scheduling system that makes it really easy to pick a slot for a time. And then really it's a question of a one-to-one, well, sadly at the moment, Zoom call, or, you know, we can't wait till we get face-to-face again, but yeah, so a Zoom call, typically about an hour. But the most important thing is really for me to understand the business or organisation, if it's a charity, really what its aspirations are, its challenges and its needs. And then really what we do is to explore the elements of the eScalate programme to see how we can help. I think sort of, again, typically it's often, I mean, I always say, actually, I don't like to give advice. I just share a perspective. I ask questions. And a lot of it, I think, a lot of the support is around signposting, personal introductions. I think what we're going to hear from others is a flavour of perhaps what others have got from that. But I think we've got strong networks and connections. And then after that, there's the opportunity for follow-up sessions. So we'll talk a little bit more about the elements. But you know, a good example really, as Sarah mentioned and Helen, are the grants. So the grants are very, very important, but they need to be handled very carefully. I think they need to think through what that application might look like. So quite a lot of my time can be spent really helping them come up with a strong and eligible grant application as well.
That's eligibility criteria, I think, is quite interesting. How is it decided if a company is, if you like, purposeful enough, Grant, to qualify for support?
Yeah, well, Sarah touched on this earlier as well. The first thing is that the organisation needs to be registered in some form. So it could be a limited company, it could be a registered social enterprise or cooperative, something like that. And even individuals, as long as they are registered with HMRC, that's fine. So it needs to be some form registered entity. I mean, I would actually say to people, we have to be careful, because that is a very important eligibility criteria. We can't technically support people that aren't. But to be honest with you, unofficially we do. We'll handle that. OSEP really is keen to support any organisation it can. So if you're just thinking about it, then do get in touch and we can help you. But in terms of specific eligibility, if you're a charity, that's just accepted, you're in. If you're a social enterprise, and we use the Social Enterprise UK definition of what a social enterprise is, I won't go into the detail now, but we can send a link. So if you're a pure social enterprise, there's quite a lot of people perhaps think of themselves as social enterprises, and I'd suggest they're not. But in terms of probably what you mean by your question, what I would refer to as mainstream businesses, I think what's important to stress about this is this isn't just about businesses doing some CSR. I think corporate social responsibility is important and good, but this is really businesses that understand it's about more than just making profit. They're placing stakeholders on the same footing as shareholders. and they need to be demonstrating how they embed that within the DNA of their business. And in fact, we're going to hear from Gareth at C-Corp. He's a good example, actually. So they've recently become a B Corp. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Gareth, but he'll tell you a little bit more about that. But that, as an example, to become a B Corp, one of the things you have to do is to change your articles of association to actually demonstrate that. So I won't go into too much detail here. We can talk about that. We can help you with it, but it's some form of really demonstrating absolute commitment to having more positive social and environmental impact.
Yeah, we've got some fascinating case study businesses, including Gareth, who we'll speak to in the next few minutes. Henry, welcome. Tell us about CAG Oxfordshire and how you fit into the delivery of support to social enterprises and indeed purposeful businesses.
Good morning. Yes, I've got the pleasure with my colleagues at CAG Oxfordshire of being one of the 6 social enterprise hubs in the county, and we work out of a wonderful building, and we partner with an organisation called Makespace Oxford in North Oxford, which is really, yeah, I mean, it's obviously everything's a bit dampened down now because of the pandemic, but it's a wonderful space, paying host to sort of artists, makers, all sorts of social enterprises and charities are based out of the building. And so we operate out of there. As actually say, we only had one event there. We had a lovely Pancake Day launch just before lockdown, which I'm glad we got something in. But we work out of there, and our role really in the programme is to use our existing networks and to build new ones out into the community in Oxfordshire, bringing in people with ideas, with projects that could benefit from joining this sort of social enterprise community and the support specifically that the programme has to offer. And we do that through sort of social events, networking, training and workshops, as has been mentioned before. And really, like we leave the technical stuff to Grant and Ashley and the team, but we refer people on for one-to-one support and grant advice as well.
And CAG's also receives support through the programme. Tell us about your experience, if you like, on the other side.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. I think fascinating to connect with a sort of broader social enterprise community than sort of what our normal focus is. So I've attended some brilliant one-off workshops, but also I think most interestingly, I was part of one of the first peer-to-peer learning groups that the programme ran. Our colleagues at Flows in the Park and from Aspire ran a really brilliant workshop at the start of the pandemic, series of sort of learning sessions at the start of the pandemic for charity leaders, and that was all focused on how we were all adapting our organisations, our businesses to the new conditions, you know, how we were managing our teams, what we were doing with our finances, and that was just really invaluable to feel part of a connected community of people going through a similar but different struggles. Really at that moment in time was really valuable for me and then for our organisation to benefit from that wisdom.
Perhaps get a view from each of you on this, or an example. Certainly, Ashley, if you would start, let's hear some real life examples of the difference that the eScalate offer can make to organisations. Perhaps each of you could share a story where you've actually seen a positive difference in a business or organisation that you've helped.
Sure. I'd probably make a more general point about just the sense of community, I think, that eScalate offers. So Helen mentioned earlier that with yet another hat on, I work as an advisor with the Growth Hub. So I do a lot of signposting of people towards eScalate so that they can then go on and have that very specific support from Grant and other members of the team. But quite often I'll meet with very early stage businesses, social enterprises or organisations that know they want to be more purposeful but aren't quite sure how to articulate that, how to formalise that in their organisation. And then when I can say to them, well, you need to go and talk to the team at eScalate and we can do this, that and the other, they're amazed. There's almost this sense of relief, like, oh, what, there are other people out there doing the same sorts of things that I'm doing that have that same passion about doing something purposeful and important and impactful. So I think that is one of the most important things we can offer. And I've certainly seen that sort of light bulb moment with many businesses when they're able to connect with others from a similar space. And I think that's a really important thing that we can offer.
Grant, I'm sure you've got a story or two to tell.
Yeah, a bit like Ashley, really. I think I'd probably, I don't like to name names or single out people. Actually, one thing I wanted to do, I just do want to give a shout out to OxLEP, really, because like Ashley, I've worked on a previous program some years ago now, and I think we wouldn't be doing this now if it wasn't for OxLEP recognising the value of social enterprise. And this programme, I mean, technically the funding, we've been working on it for a long time to bring it through. So I really appreciate that. And I think the other thing is the flexibility. It was very much around pure social enterprise and charities. So I think they've done a great job of expanding it. But yeah, like Ashley said, I think it's difficult to single out people. I know we're going to hear from others, and I'd probably rather leave it to them to say. One specific example perhaps is FabHab. FabHab have received a grant. They produce sort of prefabricated, environmentally friendly buildings that really is addressing the sort of low cost housing issue. And I know they've had one-to-one support, they've had grant support, and there's a good video that will demonstrate that as well. But just like Ashley said, I think the thing that's, for me, I'm seeing is people really appreciate that awareness of others in that community, the individual connections as well. There's been some powerful introductions we've been able to make that's enabled people to go on and even create new dimensions to their businesses as well. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, very, very well it does. Henry, and a thought from you on the positive difference that you've seen in an organisation you've been helping.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd talk about MakeSpace, which is that, you know, it's the building where we're based, but it's also a brilliant young organisation itself, and it's been supported through the programme in its process of taking on a new building in the city centre, which is coming quite soon, and I think it's really vital because it's sort of the programme supporting itself to develop more community, more spaces where businesses can come together. And I think anyone who's run an organisation in Oxford will know that, you know, lack of affordable space to sort of base yourself and run your activities is a massive barrier. And so that all the support that MakeSpace has been able to access through this programme has been really invaluable to sort of building that next step for them.
Great stuff. Sarah, fair to say there's a lot on offer here. How do businesses get involved and indeed find out which support is the most relevant and useful to them?
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots to take in and take up, hopefully. Get in touch with us is really the simple answer to that. We've got the chat function today, so people can get in touch with us straight away, or get in touch with us afterwards. I know we'd all be happy for people to connect with us on LinkedIn, or just get in touch with the OxLEP business team via email or phone, and we'll get back to you. You know, we'll have a chat with you about your specific organisation, what kind of support it is you're looking for, and help to signpost as best as possible through the programme.
Great stuff. Sarah, thanks for your excellent contributions so far. Ashley and Henry as well, thank you. I know, Sarah, you're going to be rejoining us at the end of the presentation. Grant's going to stay with us during this next section. And let's also welcome to the conversation, we've mentioned him in dispatches already, Gareth Dinage, who's Managing Director of Seacourt Printing in Oxford, to discuss the impact the eScalate programme has had on his business. Gareth, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your business for context for everyone.
Morning, Howard. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Gareth. My company is called Seacourt Limited, and we are a printing company. It doesn't sound particularly exciting or sexy, but it is. So we're a grand old lady of a business. We're actually formed in 1946, believe it or not, in West Oxford, and fast forward to the mid-90s, and we actually discovered, or not we, the board before me, discovered just how damaging the printing industry is. And at that point, when we realised just that we were part of a problem, we decided that we'd like to do something about it. And so in 1996, we effectively became a values-based business where we looked at the environment and society as well as profitability, and so we became a triple bottom line business before triple bottom line was a thing. And over the intervening 20 years, we've gone from the same as every other printing company to being where we are today, and that is that we're a net positive business. So we're a regenerative business. The environment and society are actually we're giving more back than we're consuming, which is a huge leap, and it's taken a huge amount of incremental steps over a very long period of time.
I can understand changing sort of work practices, but how about sort of the change in people's mentality within your business? Getting the employees and fellow directors, I guess, on side is a bit of a challenge. How did that go?
It's absolutely crucial. You have to have hearts and minds with all these things. And as soon as you explain, you know, look, guys, this is actually what's happening. This is what we're part of, and we feel that we'd like to do something about it. Everyone can absolutely understand that, you know what, that sounds a great idea. If there's a better way of doing it, let's do it. And so the journey is very much all-encompassing and reliant on all of us being involved, all the team on site here, but also our supply chain and also our customers in believing in the problem that we're trying to solve. So it's absolutely a collaborative approach, and it does require all parts to be committed and to understand that, you know what, this absolutely makes sense. And actually spoke
question then. So, sorry,
yeah.
if you touch on my next question, how your customers related, because this is a great selling point as much as anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a position, Howard, and it's a fundamental position that we believe in, and that is, if there's a better way of doing something, then we ourselves feel that we are duty bound to find it. So if we know that there's a way to print without consuming water, without using all these nasty chemicals, to run our business on 100% renewable waste, to be zero waste to landfill, to be carbon positive in our impact, then we have to do so. And we're very fortunate. We work with people like the National Trust and WWF and leading organisations who absolutely understand our climate is changing. And the time is now to do something. It's not tomorrow, it's not next week. We all need to act today. And so we're fortunate that we're creating, and we're part of a community that is fully on board and understand the immediacy of action. And yeah, that's where we are.
Maybe other businesses listening to our conversation, Gareth, or listening back on the recording perhaps, might suddenly be saying, well, yeah, it all sounds great, but I've still got to run a business, I've still got to make it profitable. Are the two compatible? Can you do this and make profit and do the right thing in your view?
You have to. It's not a case of can you, it's you have to. I would say to any company that's tuning in that have yet to understand sustainability and have yet to understand that place in the business, guys, you need to do it, and you need to do it now. It's blindingly obvious how things are moving forward, that people are voting with their feet, and customers will choose to work with organisations that are not just talking a good game, but actually are doing what they say they should be doing. And so sustainability, I mean, we understood this 20 odd years ago, but sustainability, as I think Grant alluded to earlier, is not a bolt-on. It can't be a bolt-on. It's a fundamental part of any good business, and it's becoming more important. I read a research piece that in 2017, sustainability was 6th on corporations' list of to-dos. It's now up to 3rd behind being a well-run business and being profitable. It is a fundamental business principle, and you will lose customers if you are not serious about it and that you don't have a plan.
Tell us about the support you've received from the eScalate program and how that's helped you achieve what you've done.
Yeah, so we've been really fortunate to benefit from a grant from eScalate, which is fantastic. The process was very simple. We got in touch with them. We had an idea that what we wanted to do was grow the business, and in order to do so, we had to invest in some more hardware. And it's a new printing press. We actually created our own printing process, and we looked to double the capacity that we had. And by doubling the capacity we have, it effectively means we can do more good, because every job we produce is better for the environment and society because of our net positive position. And so we worked with eScalate. We filled in some paperwork. We had some conversations, and they kindly gave us a grant that supported us purchasing a new light touch press, which is being installed as we speak down in the factory.
Great stuff. Well, Grant, I mean, what's it been like for you, sort of watching Gareth develop and grow his business? You can feel the enthusiasm coming out of the screen, can't you?
Yeah, he's unstoppable. He really is. I met Gareth a number of years ago. Actually, it was an event when he was doing what he does really well, which is talking about this stuff. You know, I think the other thing is that I think Gareth is good at promoting the business, but you know, they have been pioneering, and they genuinely are globally leading in a number of ways. I suppose my first interest really, the B Corp movement, that I don't know if you've mentioned it yet, Gareth, or not, but anyone that's not aware of it, but B corporations are a sort of a new way, or not so new, but relatively new way of doing business. As I said before, putting stakeholders at the same platform as shareholders. So really it was my interest as a B leader. I've trained with them to support businesses to become B leader. So I remember talking to Gareth a number of years ago about that, and he's since gone on and got that business through, and it's actually, is it the highest scoring printing company globally, Gareth?
Highest scoring B Corp media company in the world, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so that's been my interest. And the interesting thing as well, I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things very quickly, was that, you know, Gareth talks about customers. In that room that he's sitting there, if you look around the room, he's got samples of stuff that materials that he's printed for clients. I think what happens when you are a business this way is you attract the right sorts of customers. They've got some fantastic customers who want to do business with them for all sorts of different reasons. You know, clearly they've been leading on the sustainability issue. They're absolutely globally leading on that. But there are other elements as well, and I think it's important that those listening understand that sustainability is important. But what's good about having a purposeful business, it's about the way you embed all sorts of business practices. You know, the way you work with your workforce, the way you're dealing with clients, supply chains, the way in which you are engaging in community and environment as well. So I think, you know, really highlighting the point that Gareth made, you know, people want to work for organisations like that. They want to buy from organisations like that. Increasingly, we're seeing that people want to invest in businesses like that. Yes, they want a return on their investment, but they want to know that their money's having some positive impact as well. So, you know, businesses that aren't doing this are just going to be struggling going forward. I'd like to think they want to do it for the right reasons. But to come back to C Corp, you know, I've seen that business has been pioneering for a while. They haven't needed me, but it's been great. And certainly as part of other business networks and business community, it's great to see them leading the way. And in fact, Gareth, we're on another event on Thursday as part of this Power of Purpose, aren't we? Because so we've just established a group of B Corps, and one of the first in the UK as well. So it's been great to be alongside Gareth as part of that community, really promoting the way that we feel should be doing business going forward.
Gareth, just for people maybe sort of ears are pricking up, that B Corp, how onerous was it to do? Was it a long process? I know you've just been sort of certified as, and it means great things for you. Was it a difficult process?
Yes, really difficult. So even though we've been doing this for 20 years, Howard, you know, and we've been measuring our impact, so we've got tons of data about our energy consumption, about the carbon rate dropping per ton of paper that put through the factory. We got information on everything. Even for us, it was, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, it was onerous, and it took us nearly 8 months to get through. And you know what, that's a good thing, because anything that's worth its weight, you know, it is a challenge. You have to work to achieve it, and this is exactly the case with B Corp, and that's why it's very different to something like an ISO standard, which is an objective. You can specify, I'm going to do X, Y, Z in the next 12 months, and that's fine. Well, that's fine, but it's not as meaningful. What B Corp does is it goes through your business in its entirety, and it looks in the cupboards, and it looks at the drawers, and it looks at the dust on top of the cabinet, and it looks everywhere. And once you come through it, you actually have a far more robust business at the end of it, because you're having to consider and actually get down on paper all the things that you have in your head, but you might not have documented. So actually, and this goes hand in hand with sustainability per se, Howard, in terms of businesses engaging in. And you alluded to it earlier, because you do have a better business. It's not just to say we're sustainable and aren't we great. It's the fact that we're sustainable, we've done this, we understand our business, we absolutely understand the metrics, we know what our impact is, and critically, we know what our value is to our customers, they can then understand it. So it is really a rounded thing. But for anyone considering B Corp, absolutely, please have a look at it. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's the glue that's going to bind good business together globally. I mean, there's over 350 in the UK now and growing. And, you know, I keep going back to we have serious issues. The government are not driving the bus on this. You know, it's a combination of business, NGOs, government policy that have to come together to make these massive changes that are required in a very short period of time. And B Corp plays a massive part in helping to achieve that.
And Grant, as far as you're concerned, if companies obviously watching this think, yeah, this sounds exactly what we want to do, this is where you come in and this is how you can help.
Yeah, and I'd actually, just to pick up on what Gareth said before, he's absolutely right. It is not easy. In fact, I think Jamie Oliver, that recently became a B Corp, said that they actually go through your underpants as well. It's really difficult. But what I would say is Gareth is absolutely right. I mean, when I talk to people, organisations that are sort of just setting up a business, I think Gareth hopefully would agree with this, is I think if you can start doing this stuff at the beginning, some people say we need to, you mentioned it before, Howard, we need to make a profit, let's get to be profitable and then do this stuff. If you do this from the start, it's certainly going to be a lot easier and it will lead to becoming more profitable later on. So what I would be saying to people is, if I'm honest, I was quite skeptical when I came across the B Corp movement a number of years ago. Americans came over here, started to talk about it actually in Oxford. But what's great about them is they're not selling certification, they're not selling a badge, they are promoting a way of doing business. So if you look online, you can get free access to this B impact assessment. Anyone can go on it. And in fact, again, you asked about real examples. So many people that I'm talking to that want to do things differently, I'm pointing to that tool. It's a free online tool. I'm helping them with that tool. So what I would say is just play at it, sign up, register, and it will, as Gareth said, it actually helps you to think about the way you can run a business. You know, I think the other thing I would be saying as well is that, yeah, it's not just for bigger businesses. It's one-man bands can do this as well.
Just leaving B Corp to one side for a moment, Gareth, obviously it sounds like you have the sort of business that can adapt. How have you adapted to COVID-19 and the ramifications of the pandemic?
COVID's been a challenge. I did an MBO in 2008. 2 months later, there was the economic crash, which was fantastic timing. This has been even more challenging. We predominantly work with marketing teams, and all marketing activity has fallen off a cliff. So that is a challenge. We're lucky that we've got a few of our clients that have grown during this crisis, because that's what it is. The idea that we had is that we said, okay, how can we actually become a stronger business coming through COVID? And so we put a plan in place, which the eScalate grant is part of, that we've actually invested in our capacity. So we've doubled our capacity. We've taken on a second site for a second part of the business, and we've become a B Corp company. So these are the three big things that we've achieved through COVID, and we're incredibly lucky that we have a few of our clients who, like I say, have kept the wheels turning throughout this time. I'm just looking forward to 2021. I want Christmas. I want to relax, and then in the new year, hopefully with the vaccines coming on board, we'll be living in a new norm, and we can all get back to where we hope society can get to.
Let's hope so. Amen to that one. Grant, just before we leave this section, worth just summing up on the support available right across Oxfordshire for businesses looking to be more purposeful and how they can access it.
Yeah, good question. I think actually one of the first things I'd say is that, you know, the LEP has been tremendous at responding to government. I mean, ultimately, the LEP is our channel to get money from government, and it has to respond to what they ask for. And quite often, you know, government are talking about high growth or tech. You know, we've got 33,000 businesses in Oxfordshire. Most of them are relatively small and sort of it sounds awful, but I was going to say poodling along, but sort of modestly growing. And I think eScalate program is fantastic for those organisations. So in terms of the elements, there's the one-to-one support, as you've mentioned. These workshops have been tremendously, well, the responses we've got have been really good. You'll hear from others coming soon. There are the peer-to-peer support sessions. So we've got these sessions where we typically have 8 to 10 people in sort of safe spaces where they can talk amongst peers and share challenges and learn together. The hubs have been tremendous. It's just a pity we're not able to be there. In fact, so the hubs are running events this week. In fact, on Thursday, Tap Social was mentioned. We're all missing going out and socialising. If you want to be part of Tap Social, there's an event on Thursday night you can be part of, and when we get back to some form of normality, it'll be great to have these physical workshops. So the hubs, and then the grants, of course. The grants are really important, as people have said before. But you know, those ethereal things, really, like that, it's coming out today. The community and connections that we can develop is tremendous. I think the other elements that we're seeing that we weren't expecting, we've got a fantastic colleague, Ashley and I, Rosie Jacobs. She helps to run Indie Oxford, really great at promoting independent businesses. She does tremendous work promoting those that are participating on the program as well. And the other thing I'd say, you ask about general business support, you know, Ashley's connected with those other OxLEP business support programs, but you know, those that perhaps aren't purposeful, or there are other elements of support that people can tap into. You know, the LEP has got a range of business support now, which there's something there for everyone, really.
Well, great stuff. Many thanks to Grant Hayward and to Gareth Dinage from C Corp Printing. You're watching a special presentation highlighting the work of the eScalate programme within OxLEP Business, detailing the support on offer for socially minded and purposeful businesses and organisations within Oxfordshire. In the next section of the event, we're going to speak to a number of local businesses who've directly benefited from eScalate's tailored help programmes. And please keep your questions coming into us on the chat facility on this platform if you're watching us live. If you are watching on catch up, then oxlepbusiness.co.uk is where you need to head. We're going to take a short break and be back with you very soon. Thanks for rejoining the conversation. I'm Howard Bentham, and this is a special presentation highlighting the help and support available to socially minded and purposeful businesses and organisations in Oxfordshire through OSEP Business's eScalate programme. This presentation is part of POP2020, the Power of Purpose Week, as we celebrate business as a force for good. We've heard from a number of contributors who actually offer the help in its many forms, but what about the companies and organisations on the receiving end? What do they make of the advice and assistance given? Linking into the conversation now to answer the question why you should engage with eScalate are Alex and Kitty Tate from the Orange Bakery, a father and daughter enterprise on Watlington High Street, Mike Woodward from Opera Anywhere from Sunningwell near Abingdon, who are passionate about producing accessible, innovative and entertaining opera and operetta for all ages, and Annabelle Padwick from Life at Number 27, whose mission is to connect with, believe in and empower people, transforming lives through the power of gardening and growing your own produce. Welcome to you all. Let's find out how eScalate has helped your individual organisations and businesses. Alex and Kitty, perhaps tell us a little bit about your business and why you set it up.
Oh, so hello everyone. Sorry, we're coming from the dark web, obviously, in that you can't see us at all. Kitty, how did we start?
So we've been running for about a year now, which seems crazy because we had our anniversary over lockdown. I probably baked my first loaf around a year and 6 months ago. So things happened very fast as soon as I started baking. We run a bakery in Watlington in Oxfordshire, just on our high street. We are open from Wednesday to Saturday, and every day there are queues that stretch around the block, and we sell out in about 2 hours. So we're very lucky. We have a very loyal customer base. And yeah, I started baking after leaving school at 14, and I'm quite obsessive. So once I got into it, I just completely fell in love, and I started making 6 loaves a day, and I dropped them around at people's houses, and I dragged Dad into it, and we started doing pop-ups. And then one day we got offered a shop, and for Dad, kind of open your mouth. I was there, I was so excited, but we didn't have any money, so we crowdfunded, and we managed to crowdfund all the money we needed in about 2 days, which was amazing.
So as you can see, it was a very carefully worked out business plan.
Mike, tell us a bit about your organisation.
Yeah, Opera Anywhere is a touring opera company employing young professionals from across the country, and we tour across the UK. Very accessible, family friendly, normally family friendly. We do have the odd exception, 1 or 2 risk-escape productions, but generally speaking, we sort of focus on family friendly performances. And we work alongside we're a registered charity, and we do work alongside other charities that are looking to put on events to raise funds for a specific cause. So over the years, we've been operating about 20 years. So over the years, we've worked with a lot of different charities.
And Annabelle, your organisation?
There we go. Hi everyone. Yeah, so I run an organisation called Life at Number 27, which provides gardening and wellbeing therapy for children and adults across Oxfordshire and into South Northants as well. Anyone that's struggling with mental health, low confidence, low self-esteem, isolation, and just work with them to build their confidence, teach them new skills, give them new opportunities, and also meet new people as well.
Well, great stuff. So let's find out how eScalate has supported your business. Alex and Kitty, let us into what happened there, because the crowdfunding's really interesting. So was it a financial help from eScalate, or was it a different type of support?
Well, I think it's been pretty holistic, actually. Right at the very start, when we talk about the crowdfunding, we heard about OxLEP, and they were able to sort of help us secure a grant for our first oven. So a little sort of micro oven. That's when we sort of graduated from trying to use all our neighbours' ovens. So our neighbours were very grateful too. And then, since then, it's been brilliant to just sort of be part of this bigger community and sort of be able to take part in the webinars. Talking to Grant has been incredibly helpful, just to sort of get a sense of who we are and where we sort of fit in this sort of bigger community. And as Grant was saying earlier, it's just, rather than sort of giving advice, it was much more about giving us space to sort of think about who we are and where we want to go. And we're now sort of at this interesting point where we're looking to move out of the very glamorous shed that we cook from beside our house into a bigger space. And that then means that we can hopefully start to take on apprentices to train up, possibly from the Kickstart scheme, possibly prisoners are released on sort of day release, and that then made us think about applying for the eScalate grant, and we've been successful there. So we're really excited, but we're right at the very start of our journey, we feel.
So interesting, that's a holistic view you guys take. Mike, what about you? I mean, the support from eScalate, from the likes of Grant and the other team members we've met today, they can't be experts in opera and operetta or baking, but they've got some great knowledge to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the eScalate program that's been really important to us is the peer-to-peer meetings, and to meet other arts organisations that have the same challenges and journeys that are very, very similar to us. Has been a real eye-opener, and to be able to share ideas and to think about collaborating, it's been really inspirational, actually. The funding that we were able to get from eScalate is been wonderful. Actually, we started talking back in October to Grant and his team, thinking about how we could provide some extra resources for the educational market, which we're trying to develop and grow in. So schools and some youth groups, and so the idea was to create a range of online projects that we could deliver in advance and to help us market our educational offerings. And then came COVID, and that made that even more important. And so we eventually got our act together and completed all the paperwork just in time for when COVID came, and we had to find alternative ways of operating. We lost about 60 events this year, and so we were able to focus all our resources on developing these online projects, and we've just completed 4 or 5 projects. Many thanks to the eScalate funding.
It seems in the nick of time by the sounds of it. Annabelle, your organisation and how that help has really well made things grow in the garden, as it were.
Yeah, I think it's been invaluable. I think mainly because a lot of people from the outside that aren't sort of within this sometimes generally assume that there's a whole team that run Life at Number 27, and there's not. It's just me. I do everything. And so what's great is that I developed the business purely from a passion and from a heart perspective, an emotional need to create something that I was never offered for my own recovery journey. So I think I've always got them in my mind. So it's great to have the support of Grant and the team to stay focused on the business side of stuff, because it has to be sustainable if I'm going on to support people for years and years and years to come. So that's where they really help me, is to answer so many questions if they can, or point me in the right direction of people that can. And also it's about that network, I think, for me, because I am solely on my own, where I've come from a corporate background where I've had a team and you all sat together and you bounce ideas off each other. I don't have that anymore. I've got no one I can swing my chair around and go, what do you think? There isn't that. Or I can pick up the phone and it's very hard. Whereas with this, I feel like I've got a team alongside that are cheering me on, and it doesn't feel competitive at all like my old sort of work did as well. Everyone's in it together. Everyone wants to support each other, so we can all do greater good whilst also keeping everything sustainable that we do.
Very heartening. Kitty, your story is an interesting one. You're still a teenager. How has your bakery helped your personal confidence?
So the bakery and bread baking came to me at a point where I was extremely low, and I struggled a lot with my mental health, with things like to get out of bed and get up. So when I first watched my dad make a loaf of bread, to me it was just magic, and that's been amazing. And then as the bakery grew, so did my confidence. So the more people who came to me and asked for a loaf or said that the cinnamon buns they had were the best they'd ever had, the more I felt better about myself, and my self-worth went up. So they're very tied together. And even now, I always struggle slightly when we have a break from the bakery, even though it's quite nice. I'm always very relieved when we start working again, because you get that constant, daily, almost reassurance from people just saying, yeah, your bread's amazing, or your buns are amazing, or you're a good baker, and that's lovely.
Alex, as a dad, that must be, well, you can't put a price on that sort of thing.
Well, it's about £3.50.
Yeah.
That charge for our loaf.
Over the business.
Yeah, always. No, I mean it's been fantastic to see, but also what's really interesting, you know, from that semi-detached vantage point of seeing Kitty develop is how she's developing as someone who's so interested in business. So I mean, we listened to Gav talking about his journey with B Corp. You know, we're a tiny little company. It's just the two of us right at the start of our journey, but we're starting to look into that now, just as we begin to sort of evolve our DNA, and the collaborations, that eScalate's enabled things like we've heard Paul mention from Tap Social. We talked to him last week about his experience of employing people from sort of from the prison system and recently released prisoners, but also we've started talking to him about possibly using some of his beer in our bread. So it's this extraordinary sort of I'm back to my word holistic, but it's been fascinating seeing Kitty grow and seeing us grow and seeing where we grow.
Let's explore how you've had to adapt your organisations to the challenges posed by COVID and how eScalate might have helped you. Annabelle, how are you managing to adapt?
Yeah, it's been tricky, if I'm totally honest, just generally, because in some ways, so especially with the first lockdown, so when all the schools shut, all my schoolwork stopped, totally and utterly just went. So that was really tricky, both financially, but also just for me, I want to be in schools. I want to be working with teenagers and helping them and growing their confidence, especially when you know at this point, actually, like, it's really difficult. They weren't struggling before, they're probably struggling now. So in that aspect, it's been tricky. The good thing about more recently is we've been able to stay open. So during this lockdown, we've been able to be up and running because we're mental health support, which is nice. But yeah, from a financial point of view, it's been difficult. So I've have a sort of separate arm to the business, which is more. So I have written a book, so I'm an author, and I do a lot of freelance writing. So I've had to sort of reach onto that even more than I normally would to help fund the programs or to help fund the business where I would normally be getting income from other places. So it's just sort of trying to be adaptable, trying to think differently, and trying to think of ways to potentially expand the business, but at the same time reminding myself that actually I need to look after myself at this point. So where I maybe could have expanded a lot more than what I haven't, but that was purely so I know that I'm looking after myself during this crazy weird time as well. So yeah, but it's always just knowing that if I need that support, it's there on the end of a phone or on an email. You can't put a price on that. So yeah.
And Mike, you've touched on this already. You something like 60 events that just evaporated with the first lockdown. How have you managed to adapt and offer something for the opera-loving public? Well,
we've with these online projects, we've been able to create some electronic digital storybooks. So we've done a lot of filming of some elements of the performance and be able to broadcast that online on YouTube and Vimeo. And we've got involved with illustrators, and people are able to write dialogue through in the electronic books that we produce. So we're and also we've developed a new website that to hold all this together and to present it. And we've been doing a lot of we've been out there, shall we say. We've been booked by recently been booked by a festival to do filmed performances around Oxford of various different popular opera arias. So that's kept us a little bit busier than we have been. But we've used the time also to think, you know, we spend a lot of time rushing around with 60, 70 events a year. One does spend, I'm a bit like Annabelle, it's a bit of a very lean business, and all the people we employ are freelance performers, so they've been really hit badly. But we're quite scalable, so although we've lost 60 events, we're not going to go bust. We are able to sort of cut our cloth according to our means. And so it's been an interesting time. We've been able to sort of think about strategy, and thanks to all the workshops and online resources that OxLEP and OSEP have put on, it's really just seen us through and kept me sane.
Just interestingly, Mike, I hosted a Q&A for OxLEP just last week, focusing on the creative and cultural sector and how many have found a new audience online, just like you have. One point that was raised, though, was the pitfall being that often you have to give your work away for free. Does that not sort of devalue the type of offering from creative companies like yours?
Yeah, it is an issue, and we try and point people towards our donate button. You know, I think for us at the moment, we can't really charge for our online activities because the big opera companies are just churning out stuff free. So for us, it's just about keeping our name out there, employing performers where we can, and just keep things going, keep some activity going. You know, thankfully we've got social media to spread the word, so we're probably reaching a much wider audience than we would normally with a public event in a certain geography. So you know, it's been difficult, but we can see the end. We can see the end now, can't we? We've got loads of events already planned for from June onwards, so it's got to sort itself out by then.
Great stuff. And Alex and Kitty, you've managed to keep the shop open during the various shutdowns?
We've been incredibly lucky because it's just the two of us, we're a family in our own little bubble, and we've been able to keep the shop going. We haven't been letting people inside the shop, so we put a table at the door. We have like a little selection of all the things that we have, and people pick out what they want. And then we've also been very lucky because my brother, who would have had his gap year this year. He then went around in his old Polo delivering to all those people who were in lockdown, isolating.
And I think the other thing we've been really lucky with is because most of our suppliers are local producers. We've been able to develop a really good connection with them, a really good relationship with them. So we were able to talk to them directly when lockdown started, and so none of those chains sort of broke down. I think yeah, we feel very sort of enormously grateful to those relationships and to them, really enabled us to keep on going.
Annabelle, one of the key aims of eScalate is to support the building of a more resilient and collaborative business community. Just how important is community in what you do?
I think it's everything in what I do, because I suppose, especially with the adult work, it's developing communities within different areas of Oxfordshire and South Northamptonshire. So with the adult therapists, like they're bespoke places where the adults that are struggling can come, and they can come for a full year and they get to meet new people. But I think within the business side of stuff as well, I think it's key when you, as I said earlier, when you're on your own, you do need other people around you, whether it's to give you ideas, to do you on a bit when you're doubting everything entirely of what you're doing. It's everything. I think sometimes, especially me, I've come from a background where I think I can do it all by myself, I don't need help, and that stemmed from a whole series of different things. But actually it's that thing of actually, you know what, actually if you do ask for help, especially within this community, there's so much help. You don't have to worry about people going, oh, but well, if I help her, then that might hinder me or something like that. There's none of that. It's all everyone just wanting to help and share the ups and the downs and everything in between and give ideas, which is, yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, I'll get a short answer just to sum up from each of you on really for other businesses or organisations watching this broadcast. What difference has eScalate made to your ability to remain competitive in the workplace and thriving in these difficult times? I'll let you sum up first, Alex and Kitty.
Well, I don't think we wouldn't be able to take this next step if it wasn't for eScalate, and feel confident about taking the next step, which again has come out not so much from the grant on the financial level, which is brilliant, but
things like we had to put together a business plan.
Yeah,
we never had to do that, and actually for us it just meant that we were able to put down on paper where was it that we want to go and which direction that is.
So, and that's been brilliant.
Mike?
I think for me it would be the momentum that I was building up, growing our business as it has been over the last few years would have just, if it wasn't for the eScalate grant and all the input that we've had over the last few months, all the inspiration, I think our momentum we would have gone into reverse. I feel stronger. I feel our organisation is stronger now than it was before COVID, because of the space that we've had and because of the input we've had.
And Annabelle, final word to you.
That's a lot of pressure. I think for me it's about that community, as you've alluded to. I think otherwise they've given me a network of people that I didn't know before. I knew a lot of people on social media on a wider scale, but within the county I didn't really know anybody from a business perspective or in a social enterprise perspective. So that's what it's given me, is a whole network of people that I didn't know before that I can sort of reach out to and ask for help. And yeah, I think that's why it's really helped me.
Well, many thanks to Alex and Kitty, and to Mike and to Annabelle. Great stories, and the best of luck to you all. For the final parts of the event, I'd like to welcome back Sarah Beale, eScalate Programme Executive, and Helen Brind, who's a Growth Hub Manager at OxLEP Business. Sarah, firstly, give us your reaction to what you've heard over the last 90 minutes or so in discussion.
Hi again. Yeah, I think it's it's been a really, really interesting morning. I hope everyone's found it interesting as well. You know, as we said at the start, it's great to hear directly from the businesses, because often we're a little bit of a step removed at OxLEP with OSEP doing the direct delivery. I think what's come across most strongly to me is, you know, everyone's come to the programme for a different reason at different points in their organisation's development. but it feels like people have got something quite similar out of the programme. A real sense of community has come across really strongly, of people helping each other and not seeing each other as competition, but seeing the importance of providing support. And also I think in these times, you know, often people who are working in businesses feel isolated. People might be sole traders working on their own, but you know, COVID's really exacerbated that. So creating that sense of community where people can come together, feel like they've got a team behind them, like Annabelle said, you know, I think that's been really good to hear. It's really nice to know that the programme is having such positive impacts for people.
And Helen, what's your message to those businesses joining us for this event?
I think I'm unmuted now. Sorry about that, I was muted. Just really to say, I guess the first thing is to thank the speakers coming onto this session for us today. It's been talked, we've talked a lot about community, we've talked about that connection, and actually we talked earlier about we are, as Sarah said, we're kind of a little bit disconnected from the businesses that we're working with, especially at the moment. And today that's vital that the speakers have brought that to life for us and hopefully others that have joined this call. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. In terms of those that have joined us today, I think the key thing for me is it's vital that we support those businesses out there. Make sure you look at what we have to offer as an organisation. As I say, what we do is much bigger. The good thing about eScalate is that this runs through until 2023, so we will be able to continue to support organisations. But I guess the key thing is one of the things that has been vital for us in terms of working with OSEP is it's not just about the length of the time we've got this support available. It's like, how do we create that longevity to make sure we continue to support businesses through to the future?
Sarah, I mean, we've heard some amazing stories. In your view, how important are purposeful businesses and organisations to Oxfordshire's business landscape?
Yeah, I think they're a really important part of the landscape. You know, we've heard from businesses and organisations in a wide variety of sectors this morning. So, you know, they're crossing all parts of the economy, really. You know, I think it was Gareth who said, or perhaps it was Grant in that section, that you know, people want to work for these kind of businesses. People want to buy things from these kind of businesses. We've seen a huge interest in people supporting smaller businesses and their local businesses during COVID, and I think, you know, it's really important that we can support them as well. You know, it's difficult times for all businesses, and as Helen said, there's a wide variety of support through OxLEP Business. So hopefully from this morning, people will be interested in not just eScalate, but getting in touch with us and how we can support them, because, you know, we see it as really important that we support all of these businesses across the county.
And just following on for that, Helen, I guess businesses connecting with us today can actually help get the message out to a wider business community too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we keep going back to the subject, but working in partnership, collaboration, and sharing that information is absolutely vital. Something we talk about at LEP is very much word of mouth for what we do, and actually that is very much about sharing those messages. Obviously, we're doing as much as we can to get the messages out there, but just talking to each other. You know, Mike said earlier that actually just being given that opportunity to actually speak to each other, and that's about sharing that what's available and the good news messages in these difficult times.
Absolutely right. Thank you for your comments and questions as well that have been landing during the broadcast. That's much appreciated. OxLEP's Ellen Barklam has been gathering them together for us, and perhaps a few that Sarah or Helen could field before we draw things to a close. Ellen.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi Howard, hi everybody. We've had a couple of questions submitted. One in particular I think Sarah might like to take on, which is, can you apply for other OxLEP grants as well as the eScalate grant?
Yeah, so yes, it's generally the case that you can do, but wouldn't be for the same project. It would need to be for different things. You know, there's a wide variety of support, but we've got the 2 European funded programmes, and we've also had other grant opportunities as a result of COVID. So if people have had one of those and are perhaps interested in eScalate, then that's possible. I think the best thing to do is for people to get in touch with the specifics of their inquiry, and we can help them with that.
Fantastic, thank you. And there's been another question which, Helen, you might like to take. Is there any more support for small businesses coming in 2021?
Yes, it's probably the easiest way to answer that question. The one thing we found this year, well, certainly since April, we have had a significant increase in the support we've been able to offer. Is there more coming? Yes. Can I say what that is? No, because to be quite honest with you, a lot of it comes out from government, and we work through it as we know. We know on the horizon we've got EU transition is we're now calling it. Opportunities about to hit the streets. We've already created some new webinars working in collaboration with some of the other growth hubs across the area. We've got another grant scheme which is due to launch probably in January. We have pushed it back slightly, but that'll be quite a significant scheme for people, which will be a £2.1 million programme, but no meat on the bones of that. So what I would say to people is follow us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter, look at our website. Things are always changing. And I think that's the best way to keep engaged with the services that we actually offer. But do get in touch with the team. We're there to wait. We're waiting there to talk to you. And as things change, once you're engaged with us, you will always hear about what we're doing. We do a monthly newsletter, which Ellen does for us, and you'll hear about our offer through that route.
Ellen, thanks for sharing those messages with us. It's much appreciated. And thanks again to all our contributors, especially our featured local purposeful businesses and organisations that have really benefited from eScalate's help. Gareth Dinage from C Corp Printing, Alex and Kitty Tate from the Orange Bakery, Mike Woodward from Opera Anywhere, and Annabelle Padwick from Life at Number 27. The eScalate programme is here to help Oxfordshire's SMEs to run successful and purposeful businesses. Please get in touch to find out more. Our website is oxlepbusiness.co.uk. Thanks again for watching, and from me, Howard Bentham, stay safe and goodbye.